Listen Up, presented by Dempsey's in Sportsland. Oh my. I think it's the first time in Listen Up history that we have the all famous familiar face missing, and that is Ryan Renner. I promise, though, he will be back with me. He's actually on a week vacation in Key West. No, I'm just kidding. He's actually right here in the backdrop behind the scenes. But you had to bear with me. Obviously, I'm over at Ryan's. We got the new background going on, everything. And we have a UConn victory to talk about today. It was 79-39, the final score in Connecticut, a nice packed house up there at Gamble today. And I was able to watch the game. Credit Ryan for actually, that is good news because I've heard a lot of people talking recently. Phil, why can't you watch the game? Well, I have breaking news, and it's very good news that I did watch the game from the first quarter all the way to the fourth quarter. And I tell you, what a game. I received a lot of actually some comments before this one actually kicked off earlier this morning and then last night. And I saw some people that were worried. They were kind of worried, saying, man, Butler, this could be a trap game. Phil and Rye, they said this could be a trap game. It looked like it, and I was pretty darn worried there when the game kicked off. In the first quarter, it's 5-4 Butler, and then it was like a blink of an eye. It turned into 11-4. It was deep threes from way downtown, two of them, or by McLemore. McLemore got started, and she got heated up. The rest of this Butler Bulldog crew came out firing on all cylinders. And then I blinked my eyes again while Ryan was washing dishes, and credit him for letting me see the game. It was 13-4, and of course, my eyes really lit up. And Ryan, he was like, "Well, what's wrong?" And I said, "Man, we got a problem in UConn. We got a problem in UConn." But luckily, that second quarter came. It was Butler that was on the 8-point that had 8 more points off of the UConn turnovers. Both teams today came out a little shaky, but again, UConn settled in. This is my worry about the UConn Huskies is if they get to March, how will they be? How will they be? Because to me, you cannot get off to these shaky starts that UConn had in the first quarter. Gino knew it. We all knew it. And by the end of the first quarter, we were looking at a 13-10 Butler lead. All right. And so Griffin, she stepped up big. The most athletic Griffin. She's arguably the most athletic player on this roster. Edwards is so talented. And I heard the announcers were right, man, today. Edwards is so talented. She's going to either score most of the time or she's going to get fouled. And that was a big problem for Butler today, that Aaliyah Edwards could not be contained. And we see a lot of teams that the UConn Huskies play where Aaliyah Edwards has been fantastic the last, I'd say 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks. I mean, ever since the season started, because it's a learning process for these a group of girls, especially when they can only start 5 and leave 5 on the floor for most of the game. And I want to credit Gino and the coaching staff again, how great it is for these 5 starters to stay out of foul trouble when you only have 2 available players on the bench. It's absolutely incredible. UConn stepped up on defense after the early Butler run, and that's what got UConn back into the game, thank goodness, because UConn shots were not falling at all in that first quarter. Butler did a great job boxing out. Again, Butler came in with the game plan that really worked, and they executed it in the first quarter. But after that, thank goodness, UConn was able to pick it up in the second quarter, and they never looked back from there. Moving on to the second quarter, Butler's had second chance shots that UConn didn't when the game started. And I think that's important because when UConn was missing shots, they were Lou Lopez Seneschal was facing a lot of tough shots because of that Butler defense clamping down in the first quarter. Lou Lopez making some shots that usually we don't see her make, some off-balance shots that just didn't fall, but I will get to that. A lot of these big names on this UConn roster really stepped up later on in the second quarter. It was 16-16 tied up with 7 minutes in the second quarter. And, again, they made a great point. Again, Lou Lopez Seneschal, we were all clapping our hands, Gino may have made a good move when she came from Fairfield, but oh my, you still have to question, where would this team be without Lou Lopez Seneschal? Where? And it's a good question to ask because today, again, boy, did she step up and splitting and dicing the defense. I mean, she made Butler look terrible. After Butler looked so good on defense in the first quarter, second quarter, they could not contain Dorka that well. They couldn't contain Aubrey Griffin. They could not contain Aaliyah Edwards. Lou Lopez Seneschal, great shots. Man, look, this whole team, man, and Nika Mule. Nika Mule may have been a little too aggressive underneath inside the paint, but again, she fixed that, especially after halftime. They came out and nearly played perfect basketball. But yes, it was a scare in the first quarter. And Seneschal, again, she did a great job splitting the defense and drawing the fouls. Dorka Juhasz, I wanted to mention her. Man, I tell you what, when she transferred here, and I think it's a mentality kind of thing. When you injure your wrist like that, or any part of your body, a scary injury like we saw last year, I think it's a mentality kind of thing where you just have to get it out of your mind, forget about it. Go home at night, try to do some meditation, meditate a little bit, whatever works for you, some more exercises to get stronger, whatever it takes to forget about all the demons, if you will, to forget about what happened in the past, the bad stuff, move on into the future. And boy, is that what she has done. And she's doing it little by little. We see actually at halftime, I wanted to point out at halftime that Gino had mentioned that he wants to see more from Dorka Juhasz. He knows that she is capable of putting on a bigger performance because we saw it last year. But she is starting to get more comfortable from outside, not only inside the paint on her post shots, but outside the 3-point range. Dorka Juhasz is starting to heat up. And I think that's a very good sign for us and for all of UConn Huskies fans. With March approaching quickly, she has taken some shots that has really been falling in. And she's more comfortable shooting the 3-ball. And I think that's big. That's huge because again, she's coming off of that. We may just say, "Oh, that's a wrist injury." No, it was a very gruesome. You ask Ryan. We'll ask Ryan next time that he's on. It was a very gruesome injury, and I'm just glad to see her coming back to her normal standard. And we know that she's all capable of playing a lot better than what she has been. But again, she's slowly starting to return to her natural ability of playing great basketball, right? And then it was a 24-3 run to close out the half. And get this, it was no threes, no 3-point attempts for Seneschal in the first half, but she was still dominating on the floor all the way around with steals. I mean, they did a great job in the third. It's crazy because in the third and fourth quarters, I really had on my notebook really no notes. And to me, that's a beautiful sign. That is a beautiful sign because it may have been boring for Butler fans. I get it. But for us UConn fans, it's definitely a sign pointing up, if you can definitely, especially after halftime, make the adjustments. And that's exactly what happened. I looked back and Ryan said the same thing. He wanted me to make sure I mentioned it. It was crazy because, Butler couldn't even get to 40, but yet they had a 3-point lead there at the end of the first quarter. So that just speaks on behalf, man, of what this UConn Huskies women's basketball team is all about. Dominance. Gino did a little shake there toward the end of the game. He was rooting for Dorka Juhasz hard with her shooting from downtown, if you will, deep from downtown. He said that she's been working on her downtown 3 shots for so long now, and she's really starting to progress at that. And like Gino said it's not complicated. I'm sure he has the right to say that. I'm sure it's easy to say that after all the basketball coaching that he has done during his long tenured, hardworking, future Hall of Fame coaching career. And he said it's not French cooking. Ryan took a laugh at that. It's not French cooking. It's not that complicated. And then he said, "Okay, bye." And he took the headset off and walked away into the locker room. So anyway, we'll get into a couple comments and then we'll cut it short here on Listen Up again. Man, I'm missing you, Ryan, wherever you're at. Please come back because we have a big matchup against DePaul coming up Monday night. Let's go over to Jason D'Amico. Always love to hear from you, brother. Caroline is NA Ines missed practice because of non-COVID illness, should be available. Ayana is a game-time decision. Let's hope the women that play stay healthy. Peace. Yeah, well, Jason, you said that right, because the announcers, the commentators today, the male, and I've, excuse me for not remembering his name, along with Maria Marino, the broadcast crew, he mentioned, he goes, well, UConn's coming out with the same starting five today on offense. Well, I don't think you really have a choice nowadays. I mean, yes, you have Amari DeBerry, and by the way, coming off of that incredible game the other night, all eyes were on her when she checked in right before halftime, because, and she actually had a three, I believe, there at the end of the game. And boy, did that make us smile. I mean, it made me smile, because I actually read an article a couple of days ago. Amari DeBerry, out of all of the negative comments I've heard, and that we're guilty. I know Ryan's guilty. I'm guilty of kind of mentioning some negative stuff about her not producing enough on the floor, kind of seeming lost. But I tell you what, Amari DeBerry seems like the heart and soul of this team. And I talked to Ryan about that. It's not always about how you perform on the court. Sometimes it carries a long way when you have that heart and soul player on your team that can carry you and guide you, kind of like a Paige Beckers right now, coaching on the court, on the sidelines, providing these women with confidence that they so desperately need, because these ladies are tired. I mean, they're tired. They're stressed out. We understand it, and we all know that you understand it. And so, yeah, Jason, you make a good point that let's keep our toes crossed, fingers crossed, because right now, if any other player goes down, man, it's going to be tough. And I want to mention very quickly before we get into the last comment and get out of here, Dorka Juhasz and Aaliyah Edwards, those two names right there, their presence. They made a good point at the post game. Their presence down inside the paint, the post, in the post, if they don't have those two available players healthy, 100% healthy going into March Madness, and if Dorka Juhasz and if Aaliyah Edwards do not heat up at the right time and play great basketball together, especially get tough physical points down in the paint when March rolls around, I don't see how UConn can stay up against these top teams. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. If you come out again, UConn has kind of been, seems like to me they're more of a physical team this year rather than, hey, we're going to hit you with the three ball all day long. So again, it has me concerned, because, if they run into one of these top teams, and someone made a good point, you got Villanova coming up, you got South Carolina, before we even think about March Madness. If you go into one of these games and a team goes off on you and you slow down in the first quarter and they just dump threes on you all first quarter, maybe even second quarter, hell, maybe the third and fourth quarter, I just don't think, man, that UConn's going to stay with them. You got to have that physicality, and you got to just cross your fingers and hope that you don't face any hot shooting 3-point teams, because the top five right now, top four, top three, they got it all going for them. They really do. But I think that UConn is capable of hanging with any team as long as they have a healthy Aaliyah Edwards, and Dorka Juhasz even gets better. We will go over, let's see. How about Gen X Reacts? I appreciate you coming through, Jen. Always good to see your name on the comment list. No Caroline, a game time, Ayana, game time decision. AZ in a brace and crutches for 2 weeks, Gino said. He said he and the coaching staff trust this team to play hard in games. I'll be at Gamble tomorrow. I'm living in the present and taking the conference flat out, and then the Big East Championship, and then we can talk March Madness. Gino said Seacrest is probably Big East Player of the Year, and Aaliyah is an All-American. If the other team has one player go off on the three line, they do have trouble containing that. Look at last year's final game. I'm ride or die and staying present, though. Yeah, well, Jen, that's exactly what I just told you, and everybody, that, again, they have to contain the three-point shot, because it seems like this UConn team is going to survive off of the physicality in the paint. And if they start missing shots right out of the gates, it's trouble. It's going to spell trouble. I'm telling you. The key is to come out and get a quick start, as for any team. But they do have a big, and I mean a big, matchup coming up Monday night. And I can't wait for Ryan for the last check-in and the game recap this weekend, a busy weekend, because someone named Anissa Morrow is coming to town. And according to Gino, if you do not cover her, she is capable of putting up 50 points. If you do cover her, she's capable of putting up 30 points. So again, UConn, it's going to be very interesting to see how they hang around. That's it for now, man. On this Saturday, we're going to enjoy some NFL playoffs. I know Ryan will tomorrow night with his Cowboys actually visiting the 49ers. So, man, we cannot wait for all of this action, especially UConn Huskies action. This has been Phil on Listen Up, presented by Dempsey's and Sportsland, and I will check out just like Gino checked out at halftime. Take the headset off and say goodbye.